Oh, hello. I'm Keith Haywood, bringing you a thought for the day on behalf of St Anne's Church in Chasetown for Monday, the 30th of November. You've caught me just finishing off my Advent wreath, or sometimes known as Advent ring. Well, I say my Advent ring, but actually my wife made it. It's a reminder that yesterday was the start of the church's Advent season. Those final 4 Sundays that lead to the glorious celebration of the birth of Christ. And under normal circumstances, of course, when we're able to meet in church, each Sunday during Advent, a candle would be lit in the ring as we head for the countdown to Christmas Day. There are many aspects to the Advent ring and what each candle represents. But on this particular one, I'm adding a bauble to each of the candles with different words on. This one says hope. Then there's joy. Peace. Finally, on the 4th candle, love. And of course, the white candle in the centre of our Advent ring represents Jesus himself, which we light on Christmas Day. But today, I would just simply like us to focus on the importance of the light that the candles give. And as it's the first week of Advent, let's light our first candle as I tell you a story. A few years ago, I was part of a walking group. And I remember on one particular occasion, the group leader decided to take us on a walk along a section of the Birmingham Canal network. We were given a starting point, and we were told to take a torch with us, as part of the walk would take us through the Netherton Tunnel in Dudley, which is just short of a mile in length, and it's in total darkness. As we entered the tunnel, quite gingerly walking the narrow, uneven towpath, we desperately kept looking ahead into the darkness, hoping for the slightest glimmer of light that we might head towards. Well, after some time, suddenly, as if from nowhere up ahead, we noticed the smallest speck of light, no bigger than a pinhead. And as we walked on, of course, that small speck became bigger, until we finally walked out of the darkness of the tunnel and into the light. It certainly gave a whole new perspective to the saying that there's light at the end of the tunnel. We're currently in a pretty dark time of year at the moment, aren't we? As dawn comes later and dusk comes earlier. And we're fast approaching what's known as the shortest day, December the 21st. When daylight will be at its minimum. My dear Gran used to refer to this time of year as those dark, dull days before Christmas. And suddenly we realise how precious light is. The Bible speaks quite a lot about light. Not only is light the first act of God in creation, it's also a description of God himself, as Richard reminded us a few days ago in his thought for the day, when the writer of Psalm 27 proclaimed, "The Lord is my light and my salvation." The opening verses of John's Gospel reminds us that the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness will never overcome it. Then later on in John chapter 8 and verse 12, Jesus said of himself that I and the light of the world. Adding in Matthew chapter 5 and verses 14 to 16 that anyone who follows him must also be lights in the world, spreading his light and love wherever they go. And so, back to the light of our Advent ring. And I'd like you to notice just two things. The first is that the candle flame is never still. It's constantly moving and active. And secondly, no matter how dark this room becomes, the light of this tiny flame will illuminate through the darkness and overcome it. And to me, that's a reminder to us all that despite the fact that many of us will celebrate Christmas in a very different way this year, Jesus, as the true light of the world, is constantly moving and active. And no matter how bleak things may seem, nothing can extinguish his light and his love. So my prayer for all of us during this Advent and Christmas season is that we may each know the hope, the joy, the peace, and the love that knowing Jesus brings. For with him, there is definitely light at the end of the tunnel. So God bless, have fun, and stay safe.